All right, let's talk about HTML basics. This is kind of a little bit of an introduction to HTML, and there are a couple things you should kind of be aware of as we get started. And the first thing is a tag. What is a tag? A tag is used to mark up regions of HTML documents for the web browser to interpret. A tag has an opening, a greater than tag, and then a less than sign. That's how you tag things up. An element is really the opening and closing tag together. So it's a complete tag. Usually you start a tag and then you close it with a slash tag, some kind of name. And then there's an attribute portion of the markup. So what you can do is you can modify different values within the HTML element. An example of that would be is you'd say a tag, you'd tell it to have a border equal to 0, and then you'd close the tag. And so you can alter different kinds of attributes within tags. And that's just one example. There are many different kinds of attributes. So let's go ahead and get started. What we need to do to start our document is we first of all need a text editor. I'm working on a Mac, so I'm going to use Text Wrangler. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Text Wrangler and bring that into the middle of the screen. I'm probably going to take my font size up a little bit so that it's really easy for you to read on this video. I think I'll go to an 18-point font so you can see it. And we're going to go ahead and start a document. Again, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, so we're going to start to mark up our document. The first thing we start a document out with is the doc type. So what does the doc type do? The doc type it specifies the rules for the markup language so that the browser renders the content correctly. It kind of tells it, okay, this is the kind of document you're going to expect with this by declaring your doc type in the HTML. So this is what kind of document you can expect. Next thing we're going to add in there is the HTML. Now, one of the things you may have just noticed is I had an uppercase doc type and a lowercase HTML, and some of you might be wondering, well, does it matter if it's all caps or lowercase? And the answer is no. You can type in your tags in either upper or lowercase. Usually, I've kind of got into a habit of doing my doc type all caps and then everything else lowercase. Literally everything else lowercase. So that's kind of the way you read in most of the, that's kind of the preferred way, the unwritten rule of things. That's kind of how things are most of the time. HTML says, okay, here comes some HTML elements. Now the next thing we're going to add in here is the head tag. Now the head tag defines the document's head, and it includes things like title, meta, and other things. And so what we're going to do is inside of the head tag we're going to return, and we're going to say what is the title of this web page. And so we'll call it my first web page. Now here we see a great example of an opening tag in our title and a closing tag. And in a minute here I'm going to go ahead and save this document out to the desktop and open it in the browser, and we'll go ahead and see where that takes us here in just 1 second. But before I do that, I want to close out my head tag and really get into a couple more things. Next thing I want to do is a body tag. And inside the body tag, I'm going to do a paragraph tag and say the first line of text. We're going to go ahead and close out that paragraph tag. And we'll go ahead and close out our body tag. That's the body of the HTML. And then we'll close out our HTML. And what we've done now is we've got we've got our document, our very first document. You're going to see two things that show up. First thing you're going to see is the title tag is going to show up right in the top part of the browser. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Safari, bring up a new window so you don't have to check my YouTube channel out. And where it says here Apple Start, right here where we have title and /title, my first web page is going to show up right there in the browser, and the first line of text is just going to show up in the body of the HTML. So I'm going to go ahead and click back on this. I'm going to save this. Now how do I save this? I'm going to save this as index.html. I'm going to place it on the desktop and say save. Now my index.html file just showed up here on the desktop, and what I can do now, once I have a browser window open, I can just open that file up by dragging it in the window, and it'll show up here, and you can see that my first web page and the first line of text. And if we wanted to, we can easily add to this document by saying the second line of text. So I can go ahead and save that, and you'll note that that adds that right on the end. So if I want to say my first web page, Wahoo, we can go ahead and save that, and notice how the title will change when I hit refresh. So each time what I'm doing in this development environment, I'm going to the HTML document, I'm editing what's being tagged up, saving it, and then refreshing the browser screen. Once I have the index.html file in the browser, I'm just doing that. And so that's how you build. That's as easy as it is to build your first document. We'll play a little bit more with some other HTML elements in just a moment.